The holy weapon. Branno had never imagined himself standing in the depths of a cursed dungeon, his hands glowing with divine light as he fought to keep his companions alive. Once, he had been a humble cleric of the Church of Black Gold Village, tending to the sick and offering prayers for the weary. But when the kingdom's most formidable adventuring party found themselves unable to progress without a healer, they turned to him. He had hesitated at first. Fighting was not his way. But the duty of purging the monstrous scourge from the land weighed heavily upon him, and so he took up his staff and followed the warriors into the abyss. Their latest mission led them deep into the Dark Maw Crypt, an ancient tomb long overrun by the undead. If left unchecked, the creatures inside would soon spread across the land, wreaking havoc upon villages and farmlands. Branno traveled alongside his comrades, Ulrich, the indomitable swordsman, Velka, the swift and deadly rogue, and Dane, the mighty hammer-wielding guardian. Together, they cut their way through the lesser ghouls, dispatching shambling corpses and spectral wraiths as they pressed deeper into the darkness. But the true horror lay ahead. As they entered the final chamber, the air grew heavy with the stench of death and decay. A monstrous skeletal figure loomed before them, towering over the adventurers. It carried a rusted iron cross in its bony grip, its empty eye sockets burning with a ghastly green light. It was no ordinary undead. It was a cursed abomination, a remnant of a fallen priest turned by the dark forces that had overtaken the crypt. The party engaged the creature at once. Ulrich and Dane struck with steel, while Velka weaved in and out of range, slicing at its exposed joints. Branno stood back, chanting prayers and weaving protective spells, keeping his allies on their feet as they battled the towering horror. But something was wrong. No matter how fierce their attacks, the skeleton did not falter. Their weapons glanced off its ancient bones as though striking solid stone. With each passing moment, its counterattacks grew stronger, smashing through their defenses with unholy strength. Ulrich was hurled against a crumbling pillar, coughing blood. Velka narrowly avoided being impaled by the bone cross the creature wielded like a weapon. Dane's shield cracked under the force of a single blow. Branno's hands trembled. He was running out of energy, his healing barely keeping his comrades from succumbing to their wounds. Desperation clawed at his mind. The creature was immune to their weapons, but perhaps. His eyes flickered to the glowing sigils inscribed upon his hands, the divine power gifted to him through years of prayer. His purpose had never been to destroy, only to restore. But if his magic could mend flesh and soothe pain, could it not also purge corruption and burn away the unholy? Clutching his staff, Branno stepped forward. "Fall back," he cried. The others hesitated but obeyed, retreating just as Branno planted his staff into the stone floor. He shut his eyes, drawing upon the deepest reserves of his faith, and uttered a single word of exorcism. A radiant surge of holy energy burst from his body, flooding the chamber with blinding golden light. The skeleton let out a deafening shriek as the divine energy seared through its ancient bones. The cross it carried crumbled to dust, its protective enchantments shattered. The abomination staggered, its defenses gone. "Now!" Branno shouted. His allies surged forward. Ulrich's sword, now imbued with holy energy, cleaved through bone. Velka's daggers left burning golden scars in their wake. Dane brought his warhammer down with a thunderous crack, shattering the creature's skull in a single mighty blow. The undead horror crumbled into dust, its malevolent essence finally purged. For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Then, as the last echoes of battle faded, Branno let out a weary sigh and dropped to his knees. He had spent nearly all his energy, but they had won. The group helped each other to their feet and made their way back to the village, their spirits high despite their exhaustion. That night, they celebrated in the tavern, raising their mugs to the healer who had turned the tide of battle with nothing but faith and resolve. Branno, once a mere cleric of the church, had found his place among warriors. And though he never sought glory, that night, his name was spoken with reverence throughout the kingdom.